Welcome to Fearless Females, where ambition meets resilience. Meet your guide, Lori Jones, president of Fidelis Wealth Advisors. Join her and remarkable women executives as they uncover the triumphs and transformative moments shaping extraordinary careers. Ready to be fearless? Let the journey begin.
Good morning, and thank you again for joining us for Fearless Females. Today we are chatting with Ashley. And I'm so excited about listening to her story and her journey. And I'll tell you that I met with Ashley a couple of weeks before she came on my podcast. And she said, I don't know if you want me. I'm not sure I've done anything great or exciting. And I tell her what I tell all of my fearless females, which is, yes, we want you. You have done amazing things. And sometimes I'm not sure you even realize how amazing you are. So I was excited to have this conversation with her. And I feel like she really added a lot to the conversation about making sure that you are taking care of yourself. I think she has some really good insights into looking at what fills your bucket, what makes sure that you don't get to a place of burnout, and learning really about you and what you need to keep going for all those other people in your life. So I'm excited to have this conversation. Let's get started. We are here with Ashley Sommers. She's the executive director for the Foundation of Douglas County Schools. And I'm so excited to have you here with us today, Ashley. I got a chance to kind of catch up with her before we started, and I love what she does. And so I'm excited for you guys to hear all about her journey and how she got where she's at.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
So I always start with the same question because I love reading. Tell me what your favorite book is.
So I kind of jotted down two, some that have definitely helped me as I've even grown as a person, but in my career as well. The Energy Bus has always been one of my favorites. I love the story behind it and the whole idea of bringing in those who positively impact you, but also thinking positively about who you are and yourself as well. So that's been a great one for me. And another one is Boundaries. I knew for a long time that I had a really hard time drawing boundaries, more in my personal life than my work life. And so it's helped balance things out, learning about how to say no in a nice way. And then also to know when you kind of reach a limit and to say, I think I need to step back from something. So those two have helped me out tremendously.
Oh my goodness, I'm putting that second one on my list right now because I am terrible at setting boundaries. I say yes to everything. So nobody call me and ask me anything because I'll say yes to it for sure. So I love that. That's going at the top of my stack. So thank you. Tell me a little bit about your journey. Talk to us about how did you get where you are today and kind of what do you do every day? Talk to us a little bit about that.
So I fell into this world, nonprofit world, completely by chance. I had been at home for 4 years with my children and knew that it was time to head back and help contribute to the finances of the house and started looking for something. Had no idea where I was going to fall. Went to a local temp agency, ended up at actually Cherry Creek Schools Foundation. And it was my first experience, like, as I mentioned, into a nonprofit. And I had been there, learned and loved what an education foundation does and how it gives back to their community and to their district in a whole different level, and said, I should start looking at what happens down in Douglas County. That's where I live. That's where I have my children are going to school. What is out there? And so that's what I did. Was at Cherry Creek Schools for about 4 or 5 years. And then I started knocking on the door down here and quickly went from our programs into where I am today. I've been in my position for 5 years.
Wow, that's a pretty steep. That was quick, right?
It was definitely. It was a very. So I've been in the industry now for 12 years. So between those two, rose to kind of in this position pretty fast.
Did you go to college, and did you go to college to be a director of a nonprofit? How did?
I did graduate from college. I have my degree in English literature. I always thought I was going to be a teacher and really thought I would be in the high school level. That's why the degree in English literature. However, never ended up in a classroom ever, but knew that there was always that passion for education. And again, once I found out that this was an opportunity, went that's where I'm supposed to be.
Oh, that's great. It's neat that you found that passion, like that you kind of fell into it, but then took it a little bit further to kind of grow in that space. I love that. Tell us a little bit about what do you do? Like, what does a director of this nonprofit for Douglas County, like, what's your job? What do you do?
So I wear many different hats. I spend a lot of my time fundraising to really support the programs that we do here at the foundation. We do operate all year round. We are not on a school calendar. Many people think that, oh, you must shut down when it's summertime. Nope. We run a school supply drive during the summer. So that's what we're heavily involved in during the summer. But some of the things that we do throughout the year, we support our teachers with some educator grants, opportunity grants. We support different programs throughout the district underneath our pillars that are the pillars of community, innovation, and leadership. And currently we'll be changing to pathways. So I spend a lot of time out in our community getting to know our local businesses, both large and small, what their passions are in their philanthropy, and see if there's a way we can partner and help make an impact, not only in our students, but in our teachers and in our staff as well. So kind of do a lot.
That's nice. It sounds like you kind of have a different, like you can do a lot of different things. Like you're not always doing the same, it's not, you go to work and you do exactly the same thing every day, all day long. You have a wide variety.
Definitely. Always something different.
That would suit me. I get bored if I'm doing the same thing all the time. So. Okay, talk to me about what is the best investment you've made in yourself. Is there something that you can kind of look back on and say, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I did that because it really made a difference in where I am today?
So just recently I did. I really took some time and went and sat down and really started talking about my life and my stories and trying to better understand who I am as a person. Really took some time and invested into me and my mental health and helping me grow through different things and changes, helping me learn and understand where and why maybe some thoughts are where they are or different pieces and parts, but really took that time and invested it into myself.
I like that idea. And when you're talking about that, you're talking about like, this didn't happen when you were 20. Like you had been in career for a while and you're like, hey, I could use a little bit more insight.
Yeah. And I think maybe with the change in times, right? Growing up, I don't know if that was taking that time to invest in your mental health was something that people did or people smiled on or people thought was beneficial. I think it was more something if you were going to go talk to someone or seek out a resource like that, it was because there were problems or issues. And it's not just because you wanted to better yourself or learn more about yourself or in addition to better yourself. So I think I finally got to the place where I was like, it's not taboo. It's not something that you only do if you've reached this point in your life and you need something differently. It's something that is something I think people should always actively seek, search, and find what that is from. Some people it is through reading books. Some people it's through, going to their yoga classes, whatever it is. But I think it's seeking out that piece that gives you some further insight.
I think that's really good. That's a really good thought because a lot of times you don't seek that piece until you're like at the end of your rope and you're burnout or past burnout or, crying on the couch or something like that. But I like that you proactively reached out. You're like, I don't want to get to that place where I'm feeling burnt out or I'm feeling just overwhelmed.
Yes. Yeah, no, it was fantastic and wonderful. And I do think really did change and on how I look at things, helped keep some of those positive pieces. And instead of, I know that for a long time, I think we tend to go easier into that negative place sometimes. And it really helped me take a look into what is positive, even though it might be a negative situation, what's positive inside of that.
Oh, that's good. And that's probably goes back to that book that you were the first suggestion that you gave, like, talking about maybe looking on the bright side of things or that positivity. I like that. And I do like positive people. I always love I love spending time around our clients that are always happy. In fact, sometimes I'll manufacture excuses to call those happy people to just see how their day's going. So tell me, what is the worst advice that someone gave you? And did you take that advice? Did you learn from it? Like, talk to me about that.
So I was trying to think of this one and trying to come up with something, but what kept coming to mind was an incident that someone at some point in my career shared with me that I should dress more professionally. I have a deeper background in retail sales, in higher end retail sales. And so I was always very proud of how I presented myself. And then I took a little insight to maybe who this person was sharing that with me, and different pieces and parts of who they are and what their career is and what may have prompted that. I did not take it because I am comfortable and confident in who I am and how I present myself. But it gave me insight as to what others sometimes think matter and what really does matter.
Mm-hmm. Were they trying to make you like dress in like the 3-piece suit or?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that was pretty much a clear directive. You need more blazers and trousers, actually. And I went, no, I don't think I do. So
I find that really interesting. I had interviewed someone prior, and she was talking about that exact same thing, that she got that advice, and she was very fashionable and kind of went with what was kind of brighter colors and was suggested that she dress, 3-piece suits and the black. I mean, there's like 3 colors you can wear: black and gray and,
blue
white.
and navy. Yeah.
Exactly. So I find that interesting that was, how long ago was that? Like, when did they?
I would say within the last 5-6 years. So it was once I became in this position that was something that was shared with me. Yes.
So still a thing, huh?
That's, it was to them. And I respect that for being who they are, for sure. But, and maybe it does now come up when I know that I'm going to go into a different type of, presentation, that there's maybe a little bit more that says, take one other last look. But it was a little, I don't know, unnerving, I guess, at the time, and made me think to myself, what and why would that be presented that way? And I did learn through it, for sure. And in the end, I knew and still know I'm comfortable and confident in how I present myself.
I love that. I love that you have the self-confidence to say, this is me, I'm authentic, and I'm showing up in an authentic way. And this is who they are getting. So I love that. What about regrets? If you look back and you think of something, and it doesn't have to be like, oh my goodness, but sort of like, what do you say? Ooh, if I knew then what I know now, I totally would have handled that situation differently.
Maturity, right? With all of us, I think as you get older and as you mature and as you see life happenings, you react to situations much differently. As I was thinking about a couple of different things, as I mentioned, I was in the retail world for many years. I had one experience that still I thought was the worst experience I ever could have had. And now when I look back at it, I go, it really wasn't. Was I just not ready for it? Was I, could I have persevered a little bit longer and seen what the results could have been? So I think it's just understanding that with life comes better understanding, and you'll see that as you go through things and make changes.
Yeah, that there are situations that you would have handled much differently with more maturity or more experience.
Yes, I would have stayed. I know now I would have stayed in a job that I thought was horrible. I mean, but I gotten through, and then I knew I was about to take a turn into a brighter side, but I just couldn't see past where I was at that moment. Today, I would go back and say, you're almost there. Don't give up. You're almost there. It's going, even though everyone kept saying it's going to get better, it is going to get better. Just wait a second and see what happens next.
Would you have cut the experience short? Would you have made changes sooner or something like that? Or would you just practice patience?
I would have continued instead of cutting it short. So because I started experiencing some to me great adversity, I gave myself a time limit. And when I met that time limit, it was a year. When I met that year, my notice was given, and you could have come and told me that they were going to give me puppy dogs and ice creams every single day. It wouldn't have mattered. It just wouldn't have mattered. I knew that I made to that year, and that was it. Had I go back again, I would have said, nope, we can do it a little bit longer and see the good when all I saw during the time was a lot of the bad.
Yeah, that is good insight, because there are times when you're in the middle of a situation and it feels like a really hard situation and you're like, there's nothing good here. And that just sends you on a trajectory of feeling worse and worse, rather than looking at maybe there are some positives in my situation. And if I focus on those, I might be able to get through this a little easier. So if you could go back and talk to yourself at the beginning of your journey, really young, 20 years old. I only claim to be 29 now, so that's not very far from me. But say you could talk to your 20-year-old self knowing what you know now, what would you tell her?
Wow. There is going to be a lot of change, and there is going to be great highs, great lows, and you will come out on top at the end.
Give her some hope for the future.
Definitely. For sure. I kind of think of what I would tell my daughter today, right? I have a junior in high school who's looking on to the next and looking into colleges. And as we look at that, there's a lot of highs and lows in this process. And I keep telling her in the end, we both strongly feel that wherever she ends up, it's going to be the right place. We just have to have patience in getting there.
Yeah. I wish that I could go back every single year between 20 and how old I am now, 29, and tell myself to have patience, because that is a powerful concept, but hard to do.
Oh, yes. Definitely.
Yes. What scared you the most when you started out? And does it still scare you?
Yes. It still scares me. Not knowing what the next thing is, or comparing myself to others in the position, others who I think have a great handle on it, or, to me, right, looking from the outside in, I don't know what's going on in their personal life. Am I doing this thing correct? There is no manual. When you get to a level like this, and especially in a nonprofit world, there's not a lot of support. And everyone in the position like this, their organization is different. So I've found different encouragement. I found different people at different times to lean on for encouragement, or for new ideas, or for whatever, to just really move that piece forward. And so daily, I still don't think I'm doing this the right way, or what is that? What's the definition of an executive director? And do I really fit that? I don't know if I do. And I, constantly having that battle within myself as to, are you doing this well? Or are you just doing this?
So how do you talk to yourself and you're doing a great job? I can tell you're doing a great job. How do you help yourself know that you're doing a great job?
When I'm out and I do run into community partners, I do take a lot of, I listen, right? And I really hear what they have to say and what they have to share. And I take it true instead of questioning it as I may have before. So I listen, and I really, when someone says, I keep seeing you everywhere. You are doing some amazing things, so I see you everywhere. I'm like, thanks. I instead of me trying to have a reason or an excuse or something, like you just don't feel sometimes great getting those compliments. I take them and I kind of file them away, so that I know that when there's that day that comes, that you start questioning if you're performing, or if you're doing what all those expectations are. I listen to those other pieces and parts. Say, no, I am. I have accomplished some good things.
Yeah, we do something similar where we have like when we get kudos or someone reaches out to tell us that we did a good job, I save those and then go back and kind of look through when I'm having one of those rough days. Are there resources? Because you mentioned that there's not a whole lot out there about how to do what you're doing. You sort of make it up a little bit on the fly. What resources have you found that are available that help you know what is successful?
We do have a great organization across the state, Colorado School Foundation, CSFA. I can't remember what it stands for. The executive directors of other education nonprofits get together about once a month, and we share stories, or we have speakers, or we help learn from each other what's being successful at other school districts. So that's been a great, great, great support, coming together with other or they're very similar organizations, and learning what's working for them. The other thing is I've really been able to work and partner with district leadership, and they've been really helpful in helping me navigate things that I hadn't navigated before. Very first time I had actually worked with the board and reported to a board, I had a great partner here within the district who had done it for years and really helped guide me along that path. So I've looked to find people who are right at that moment to help guide me in different areas. Sometimes it's my board members who have, some great experiences in the corporate world that I knock on their door and ask them just to sit down and listen and help me advise me on different pieces.
I love that. There's a lot of my guests that talk about that mentorship. And it's interesting that that's still the piece you're talking about, even at your level, like that even after you're the tippy top of executive director, you still are looking for those mentors. Definitely
still looking for those mentors. I went to a luncheon a few weeks or about a month ago that really shared that, especially as women, looking for a mentor is just, and having a mentor is, and a mentor, maybe you've got multiple, but it's a mentor for this or a mentor for that, is really, really important for us, and to really have that a few people that you can go to at any time.
Yeah. And I think that's important as well, is that there's mentors for different things. There's mentors for you go to when you have this problem, and different mentors you go to when you have this problem, and that you kind of need a tribe, right?
Yes, for sure.
So did you face any unique challenges because you were a woman? I know that, we have things like we're moms. A lot of times we're caregivers. As far as I know, men can't have babies yet. Was there anything that you faced that was unique because you were a woman?
I think that mom tuition inside, right? When you know that there is something happening, that you need to be there for your children or your spouse, that there's something that you just that you also have the responsibility then also of then having to leave the home, or having to, go to a job, or having to do those pieces. It's that inside balance of, I know I need to be doing this, but I also know that I really should be here, and trying to figure out when you need to just say, I have to be here today instead of here. That was always hard. When your children are sick and you want to be there for them, and you've taken your sick days because they've been sick so much, how do you balance that? I think with us having all these virtual possibilities, we're in a better place with that, but that wasn't happening when I had younger children at home. But now, today, with having two high school teenagers, it's still similar. I still know when they're struggling and they just need some time where they can have somebody there if they need somebody there, or they can just be alone if they need to. So those are struggles, I think, that you feel inside as a mom. Or even as a woman, like I mentioned, even when it comes to your spouse, it's just, when you just need to be there for them, and sometimes you can't.
So is there any way that you kind of adapted or changed your workplace to help those that are coming up after to be able to handle those sorts of unique challenges?
Yes, definitely. We do a lot of balancing working from home, doing that type of situation, and giving people that opportunity. I know when things come up, making it easier to accommodate that, instead of making it a really hard conversation where it's, oh my gosh, I can't believe I've got to come to you again with something like this again, because it just makes it personally makes it so hard for you as well, right? Just going, oh no, it's okay. That home work balance is always going to be hard. And I feel like I really treat my team as adults, and knowing that they will get done what needs to get done. And I don't, sometimes it doesn't work within that 9 to 5. Sometimes, not always. We need to be available when we're in, a working environment, but I really hope, and I think that my team knows when something happens, you need to be there.
Yeah. I like that, the idea that you're being accommodating to understanding that they're two people, they have a home life as well, and they need to show up for that, or else sometimes they don't show up well at work if they're not putting those priorities where they need to be.
Exactly.
What are you most proud of?
So I think I'm most proud of the relationship I have with my children. Even as teenagers, I really think that I have a great relationship with both of them. We've tried to really keep our house as a very open house, a very safe place. I don't know if I had that definitely growing up. There were so many things I would have been uncomfortable to share with my parents, which I know my two aren't the same. We sometimes hear too much, which is just interesting. But I think that it's letting them know that we're here to listen, and when there are those struggles or they get themselves in situations that we can be there as support, not only this parental figure. So I love that I have that, and I am really proud of it. I don't think I had that as much when I was growing up.
Do you think that translates to your job as well? The fact that you have this great relationship with your kids, does that translate to your work life?
It does. It definitely does. It gives me that confidence and that security, honestly, both of them, to know that I'm accomplishing something with my two children. So I know that I can continue to accomplish something in my professional life as well.
I love that. That gives you that sense of confidence that I totally got this. If I can raise two kids and still have a good relationship with teenagers, I can pretty much do anything. I love that, Ashley. That's great. So,
and I love that I have a lot of teammates who've already lived through some of my life. Their children are older and at a different stage, and I lean on them. I really, there are times when, of course, things are going to be frustrating, and I have two teenagers. Things are going to be challenging, and I love that we all have in here, don't worry, they're all going to grow past it. They're all going to be functioning great adults. Sometimes it just takes some of them a little bit longer. So the support I have here as well has been very helpful.
That's kind of neat. That's like a mentorship for parenthood, right?
It is. There's no instruction book for that, right? We just kind of try to do our best, and there's you can't check just boxes and think that everything's going to come together.
Another hard part about that is, like, you don't even know if you did a good job. Like, it takes years and years and years, and probably forever. I don't know. There's days when I'm still like, did I manage it or did I screw them all up?
Yes. Yeah.
So any advice, Ashley, for a young lady who's just starting down this path that you're already so successful at, that you would give her to help her be more successful like you?
Take all the experiences and know that there's a purpose behind them as you move through life. As I mentioned, I wore many different hats. It took me 10 years to get my college degree. It wasn't something that I had an opportunity to get done in 4 years. So it took me a long time. And to be happy with yourself as you hit different milestones, it doesn't matter if it's the same time as anybody else. When you hit them, be proud of yourself.
Mm-hmm. I like that idea. You're running your own race. You're not running somebody else's, right?
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for your time today and just talking to us a little bit about your journey and what you do. If I have listeners that have questions, where do they find you?
So they can find me. The best place probably is email. And my email is Sommers, but it's SOMMERS at dcsdk12.org.
Well, perfect. Thank you so much for spending some time with us and just sharing your experience. I really appreciate it, Ashley.
Thank you for having me.